What up, nerds, and welcome to another morphine-fueled episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 441, recorded Sunday, September 17th, 2023. Tonight, we're talking about the winner of the September poll. It was my takeover. The movie is Shadow of the Vampire from 2000. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I am
Good to hear from you.
Likewise. You eat any cockroaches lately, Randy?
You know, I will neither confirm or deny the tabloids are going to have to work a little harder for this one, you know?
Well, I heard at the end of this episode, YouTube exclusive, of course, you're going to eat 3 live cockroaches. Is that correct?
Big old doinks.
Let's go.
Big old doinked cockroaches. Gotcha. Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy, Physical Media Stains.
Yeah.
I'd like to buy Physical Media.
We have not gotten to the source of this joke yet, so welcome newcomers to whatever the hell's happening here.
What the fuck? I just want to hear a review of Shadow of the Vampire. I don't know what the fuck they're talking
Two blues.
These.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
Same, brother. Yeah, we're talking Shadow of the Vampire. Before we get to the main event, let's tackle some housekeeping. Our October poll is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on 3 movies we're talking about this October. Our big triple feature we do every single October is on the line here. You guys are voting on theme alone. You don't know what the 3 movies are going to be. The 3 themes you're voting on are called It's Alive, Dark Worlds, and Slime Time.
Ooh. Whoa, Bob, how are those numbers looking?
Last I looked, It's Alive and Dark Worlds are in a dead heat.
Whoa, close race, huh?
Yeah, both
All
with
right.
Get it done,
about
man.
45% of the vote, and Slime Time is
Oh, that means
sucking wind, baby.
Slime time is... Nobody's down for slime?
Oh, man.
I guess it's not the 90s anymore when the slime flowed like water.
Like, what? I thought we were sponsored by Nickelodeon. What is this?
I wish.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. You got a little less than a month. No, a little less than half a month
Yeah.
to get your votes in.
Yeah, we got to get that GAC money so we can get slimed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the coin.
Get those votes in the next couple weeks. We'll see what 3 movies we're talking about in October. Mini casts. We're dropping one every single Friday throughout the month of September. Last Friday, we dropped a new one. Juice was talking about Cobweb, and that's on VOD everywhere. And it has been for like a couple weeks. It's big Halloween vibes, right, Juice?
Oh, yeah. Big time Halloween vibes. And it's one that's generated quite a lot of discussion, I feel like, in the horror world. I've seen a lot of people talk about this thing in our circles and outside. But yeah, but it's it really does have strong Halloween vibes. There's literally a pumpkin patch in the back of the family's house. So yeah.
Boner alert.
That's... Yeah, for real. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's also got let's see. So who's starring in that movie? Anthony Starr, who is that evil superhero guy, is in it. He's the dad. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He plays a father.
He's a real son
Crazy.
of a
It's just
bitch.
weird to even think of him in a different role because I'm so accustomed to seeing him in that way. Anyway,
Yeah.
Sounds fun though.
Yeah.
This coming
Sounds divisive.
Friday, Juice, you're dropping another mini cast on people's asses. You're talking about a movie called New Religion.
Oh,
Directly
yeah.
on
Okay, so New Religion comes out. No, it's already out. So this is on Screambox's streaming service, I believe.
Screambox, yeah. It's owned by Bloody Disgusting, I think. It's their
Oh, is it?
their version
Okay.
of Shudder. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one. So the reason I covered it is because this is one that we got to watch at a festival. And other than that, I think it is like virtually unknown, but is one of my favorite horror films of the year. And since it is available on a horror streaming service, I figured, give this one some love because I really liked it when we got a chance to see it at the festivals.
Yeah. Check that shit out. It's pretty dope.
Yep. Top tier stuff right there. Flying under the radar. Check it out.
In other Patreon news, we did reopen the You Pick the Flick tier today as at the time of this recording. And this is for the fourth quarter of the year. And congratulations to the 5 people that would manage to grab a spot. Which are Gabriel, Matt S., Brandon S., The Librarian, and Alex K.
Whoa, all right.
Nicely done, everyone.
Yeah, that's our last picks for the year.
Craziness.
Yeah, that's it. We're closing it out.
Don't make them suck.
Don't make them suck.
Don't. There's no quicker way to get someone to turn on us than by saying that exactly.
Oh, I'm going to fuck these dudes up now.
All 5 people are going to choose deathbed again or some shit.
Hey, you know what?
That would actually not be too bad. Actually,
okay,
that's not even bottom of the barrel by any means.
I love Deathbed.
It's my favorite horror film. You don't get it.
My favorite horror film of all time is Deathbed, the bed who eats people.
The bed that fucks up your podcast. So thank you guys for grabbing a pick. The last bit of Patreon news we have here is just another reminder. We are having our 3rd annual Chilloween party on Friday, October 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern. And this is a digital Halloween party where we host it through Zoom, and it's for our Patreon supporters at any tier. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're welcome to hang out with us Friday, October 13th. We're going to be doing some horror trivia. And the winner of that will send a dope little prize. We're also encouraging you guys to dress up in a Halloween costume, and we'll vote on the coolest costume of the night. Whoever wins that also gets a dope little prize sent to them. And we're going to also host a surprise movie that evening. So we'll be hanging out, having a good old time.
Whoa, our third rules. Yeah, our third one. Yeah. Boys, damn, just trucking along.
Gotta keep trucking.
I can't believe how much of our lives has gone on this podcast.
Weird.
Yeah, you have grown up with us. You've watched me grow up.
If AI wanted to replicate me, it wouldn't be too fucking hard. There's a lot of material.
Oh yeah, I think it would be really easy at this point.
We won't shut the fuck up. We just
there's nothing we haven't said.
That's some crazy shit.
Yeah, they wouldn't even have. I just have to splice things together. It doesn't even take AI anymore. Just listen to what we say and then relay that to the people, and we're fucked.
We are fucked.
We're fucked. Damn.
So yeah, come hang out with us Friday,
we need to pick it, boys.
Friday, October 13th at 9. Speaking of, we haven't actually mentioned this on the show, but this month, September of this month, marks the beginning of our 10th year doing this show.
Oh, yeah. It's happy anniversary to us, boys.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Did you get me something special?
Yeah, it's in the mail.
Okay.
It'll get to you. You'll love it.
Wow.
Trust me. When you get it, you'll know it's from us. Trust me. Okay.
3 roaches with big doinks or whatever Randy says. You'll love it. Big old
That's
doinks.
wild. Yep. Heading into the old 10th year, boys.
Yeah.
I wonder what the next 10's going to bring.
Fortune and glory.
Here come the demons.
Probably.
Demons. Possession. We're going to get possessed. The last thing that I have here is I just want to say thanks for everybody that hung out this past Saturday at Phantasm Orlando for the Night of the Demons 35th anniversary Q&A. I got to host that, which was pretty cool. Hanging out, rubbing elbows with the celebs.
Bob, straight to the top.
Just doing blow in the bathroom with Linnea Quigley. No big deal. It was great.
God damn, really putting slander out on the wire today, I see.
She likes to ski. I don't know.
I thought that sentence was going a different direction, to be honest with you.
I don't know that there was a safe direction for that sentence.
Blow, bathroom, I'm just...
I like to live dangerously.
I'm going to pay you $100 to fuck off.
To fuck off. So yeah, that was a good time at Phantasm Orlando. Do you guys have anything you want to mention?
I believe my house is
thing.
clean today.
I think so
Sweet
too.
deal.
Bob, what about you?
Yeah, that does it. The last thing is we're going to hear a word from our sponsors.
Gather round, all you ghastly ghouls, and kick off this Halloween season with scary good music and even scarier movies. Monster House Records is a brand new vinyl record retailer specializing in punk rock music and horror movie memorabilia. Located in the heart of Sanford, Florida, they boast a wide array of physical media, including vinyl records, cassette tapes, CDs, VHS, Laserdisc, and more. You can also find vintage tees, books, and plenty of toys. Come for the music, stay for the chills and thrills at the Monster House Records. Be sure to follow them at Monster House ORL or visit them on their website at monsterhouserecords.com.
DVDs.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I also got to visit Monster House over the weekend, and it's dope. Make sure you go. Have a good time.
You looked dope. I saw some of the coverage on social medias. It's looking pretty great out there.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the main event. We're talking about Shadow of the Vampire, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, you have this piece of physical media or on DVD.
I
Is
have
it DVD, Bob?
It's DVD, yeah.
It is. Yeah,
Hey.
old school.
I don't
That's a
think
new edition of this?
I don't think you can get this on Blu-ray. It's definitely not on 4K. If it's on Blu-ray, it's a foreign release. This is
Honestly, this is a hard movie to find.
It is.
Right.
I'm not sure why.
We had to watch it. Well, no, we watched it legitimately.
I remember watching this. The first time I saw this, it was at the library. It was that DVD edition.
Yeah.
Some asshole of a person did upload the movie in its entirety on YouTube, which is very unfortunate, though, and nobody should seek that out to watch if need be.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind and steer clear.
There's going to be some hell to pay here!
But yeah, I got this on DVD a few years ago and watched it. I had a really good time with it, and it seems like not too many people talk about it, and probably because it's a bit under the radar. It's hard to find, hard to come by.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is from the year 2000. It's the first movie that Nick Cage ever produced. It's rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 32 minutes. This was directed by Elias Merhige, I think is how you say that. Written by Stephen Katz, stars John Malkovich, Willem Dafoe, Udo Kier, Cary Elwes, Eddie Izzard, some other folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by The Back of the Box is as follows. John Malkovich and Academy Award nominee Willem Dafoe star in a riveting suspense thriller about an obsessive director who's so consumed with making the most realistic vampire movie ever, he's willing to sacrifice everything and everyone to achieve his vision. In his quest to create a vampire film to die for, F.W. Murnau hires the mysterious Max Schreck to play Count Orlok in his masterpiece, Nosferatu. Murnau introduces Schreck as the ultimate method actor, one who will appear only in character in full makeup and only at night. But as the cast and crew begin to disappear, it appears that Murnau has made a devil's bargain with Schreck. Gentlemen,
Somebody. Sorry. Instinct.
had y'all seen this movie
Rest in peace,
before?
Mr. Smashmouth.
And would you recommend people check it out? Randy, kick us off.
Yeah, I'm clearly chomping at the bit to just talk.
Go now.
Go.
Do it.
We release you.
I have seen this movie. This is a movie that I actually saw completely blind. Like I said before, it was at our public library. I was just like there one day and I grabbed a few things that looked interesting to me. I was always a little bit fascinated with Nosferatu. I was just like probably 15, so like right at the peak of my like, oh, this is a cool like edgy-ish thing that most people don't know about. Very, very early film snob shit. So I got this movie without
You've matured.
Ironically,
so much, Randy.
I know. Clear that I've come a long way. But I ended up like getting this and just wanting to get any sort of content for Nosferatu besides the original movie, which I already had on DVD as well. I didn't get it. 15 was a young Randy trying to understand A, the film business, B, the film business in Germany, C, the film business in Germany in the 20s. The only frame of reference I didn't really know any of these actors. I had heard some of their names before. I didn't know who Willem Dafoe was really beyond Green Goblin. That was the closest thing I had to somebody recognizable in this for me at the time. So like there wasn't a lot for me to hang my hat on and I had a tough time with it. I am so glad that I got to rewatch it now. I always had like a positive feeling towards it, but I never like understood it. I was like, wow, I can't wait till I understand that. And so now I finally get the chance to see it as an adult. And yeah, I recommend it. I think this is a pretty fucking great vampire flick worth watching, especially if you are also like a film dork, a film snob of some kind. Check it out.
Sweet deal. Juice, what about you?
So I had never seen this movie before. And I like the premise. And you've been talking about this movie for a while, Bob. I don't remember if you ever put it on any poll picks or not, but you had talked about this one, and you had also brought up the 70s, I think, remake of Nosferatu and stuff. You were bringing a lot of that to the table. So this is the first time I'd ever seen it. I think the premise is cool, but I would give this a light recommend. It's cool because it's so under the radar and it has so many like kind of bigger, interesting names attached to it. But I don't know if I don't know. We'll get into it, but I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily. It's a little dated, so it is a 2000s, and it feels honestly a little bit older than that to me. If I just watched this and I had to place it, I would have probably placed it somewhere around like a 92, 93. Honestly, got a little bit of like a Congo vibe to me or something. I don't know. Just
Congo.
Yeah, I don't.
Whoa. All the gorillas, huh?
Which we need to cover Congo at some point, but yeah, I don't know. So I would recommend mostly based on the premise and the names that are attached. And then I'll kind of get into some of my deeper thoughts as we get into it. So yeah, if you want to hunt it down, if you're big into vampires, if this premise sounds interesting to you, seek it out, check it out. Bob, how about you? This was your pick.
Yeah, I obviously had seen it before because it was on the poll that my takeover month was. And I do recommend it because it was on that poll. I like it. Maybe a little less on a rewatch. It loses some of its novelty, but I think it's totally worth watching at least once. So yeah, check it out. That sounds like a medium, I guess, recommend across the board from the three of us here at Straight Chilling. We are going to spoil the shit out of this movie, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob.
All right.
Hi.
Did you type up that plot synopsis?
You know I did. I got it right here.
All right. Let's hear it. Let's hear your rendition of a behind the scenes.
Yeah, here you go.
The meta-ness of meta. Let's get it.
I'm going to do my thing because... All right, in 1921, German director F.W. Murnau is shooting Nosferatu, an unauthorized version of Bram Stoker's novel, Dracula. Murnau keeps his team in the dark about the actor playing vampire Count Orlok. It is left to the film's other main actor, Gustav, to explain the lead. is an obscure German theater performer named Max Schreck. To fully get into his role, Schreck will only appear amongst the cast and crew in makeup, will only be filmed at night, and will never break character. After filming initial scenes, Murnau takes his cast and crew to a remote inn in Czechoslovakia to film on location. The landlady becomes upset at Murnau removing crucifixes around the inn, and the cameraman Wolfgang Mueller falls into a hypnotic state. One night, Murnau rushes his team up to a nearby old Slovak castle for the first scene with the vampire Schreck. He appears and impresses, but also disturbs them. Soon after the completion of the scene, Wolfgang is found collapsed in the tunnel into which Schreck had receded. While filming a dinner scene, Gustav accidentally cuts his finger. Schreck reacts wildly and tries to drink the blood. The lights go out, and Schreck is at Wolfgang's neck. Albin orders filming done for the night. With Wolfgang near death, Murnau is forced to bring in another cinematographer, Fritz Arno Wagner. He warns Schreck to leave his crew alone, and Schreck says it's no longer his film. While Murnau returns to Berlin to calm financiers on the film, Schreck approaches Albin and the screenwriter Henrik. Schreck snatches a bat and viciously sucks its blood right out of the air. The production moves to the island of Heligoland to film the final scenes, and Murnau, in a laudanum-induced high, admits to Albin and Fritz that Schreck is an actual vampire. And in return for his cooperation, Murnau has promised him Greta. The two realize they are trapped on the island, leaving us no choice. They end up filming that night. On set, Greta becomes hysterical after noticing Schreck has no reflection. Murnau, Albin, and Fritz drug her with Murnau's laudanum and film as Schreck feeds on her. With the laudanum in her blood, he falls asleep. At dawn, they attempt to open the door and let in sunlight to kill Schreck, but discover that the vampire had previously cut the chain. Fritz and Albin attack Schreck, only to be killed. Murnau, meanwhile, resumes filming, and crazed, he completely ignores the deaths of all of his friends. Instead, he instructs Schreck to return to his mark for another take. Schreck returns to feeding on Greta. As Murnau continues filming, the crew arrive and lift the door, destroying Schreck with the sunlight. Having become completely obsessed with the film, Murnau asks for an end slate. The crew obliges. He then stops the camera and says, "I think we have it. Roll credits."
Oh boy.
So the tones of this movie are kind of all over the place, and I think that's kind of one of the things that kind of like just didn't give me some solid footing going through this. I kind of was of the mind that I preferred it at the beginning when it was more mysterious and definitely played a lot darker, and he's lurking in the shadows. But when he's kind of like hanging out with them, and some of the beats are played for comedy, maybe it seems like, or I kind of got the impression that it was supposed to be funny or something. It really took me out of what the movie was trying to do, or what I thought the movie was trying to do. And so the middle section was really iffy for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I get that the tone is maybe a little bit spotty here and there, but I think I give it a little more grace because I think it's intentional, really. Like they're referencing this movie from 1921. And when you watch it, some of the horror sequences in that movie are a little goofy. So, like, when they recreate those scenes, like, you're seeing the behind the scenes of them creating something that's a little goofy. I'm sure back in the day it was terrifying, and some moments in the movie hold up. But overall, the acting is, like, a little bit hammy. It's a little old school, and I think they let that bleed out into the behind the scenes stuff as well. And really, like, the overall premise is pretty goofy. Like, you know, Max Schreck being rumored as actually being a vampire is goofy. So, like, if he's like chewing the shit out of the scenery, Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck, like, I'm able to roll with it because overall it's just like a little silly, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I do understand that, but I guess, and honestly, if they kind of stuck with it more, I don't know. this where they're filming it, actually, those were the more interesting parts where they were kind of referencing how they were going to do some things or how you see some effects that maybe you would see in the actual film and stuff like that. It was, I don't know, it's sometimes Willem Dafoe looks really great and creepy and disturbing, and sometimes it looks really stupid. It's this weird, it's pendulum that sometimes and I think that's the hardest thing for me to kind of get past, is because the very beginning of this movie, I am all in. I love when he is standing in the window and he's creepily looking down on them, and the effects that it's having on that wolf guy and him kind of creeping in the rooms and stuff like that. That's all really cool and effective. And I don't know. It also too, it's not just Willem Dafoe, so I don't want to put it all on him. But the dude, fucking Princess Bride, what's that dude's name? Carrie Owens. Yeah. His accent is, he's really bad in this movie. His accent is not good. And when he shows up, it's almost like he's in a different movie. I just feels like there are parts where nobody's on the same page about what kind of tone or what we're supposed to kind of be going for in this particular scene. And so it just feels disjointed to me. Yeah, I don't know, especially with how dark the premise gets, because it did pull me back into the ending, especially the kind of final beat of the movie where he's like, yeah, we got it. I was like, that's really cool, because the director's the monster, he's so fucking obsessed in the idea of art. And, we've talked about some directors, when we were talking about The Shining and stuff, of how they treat Kubrick, how they treat, people on set, and is it worth it to be so fucking intense if like you create this masterpiece that's lasted, for all time? But this dude's, they push it to an extreme, because this guy's literally willing to sacrifice, his crew to a monster. But that's the metaphor, and that's good. I like that. Yeah. I just kind of the middle parts where it's, I don't know. And it does kind of drag its ass a little bit, to be honest, or it felt that way to me a little bit. You said that it wasn't as good on a rewatch to you. Like, what about it this time didn't pack the same kind of punch?
Well, I have a little bit more to add on your previous point before I get into that too much. So Willem Dafoe, I do agree with you, by the way. Like, in certain scenes, it seems like he's hamming it up too much, and I could see that like taking somebody out of the movie a little bit, because when he's first introduced, you see just his hands, and then like whenever you get like the full body shot in the alleyway or whatever, he doesn't say anything, and they do this like really like smart choice where like they have Gustav's heartbeat like come up in the audio, and it gets louder and louder when he first sees the vampire, and I thought that was super effective, really minimalist, but it's also like essentially in black and white. It's not really, it's at night, it's super dark, he's in the shadows, and I think the stuff like when they zoom in and they're actually like filming the scenes, it cuts to black and white and it looks grainy. And like when Willem Dafoe's doing his scenes, he could be overacting as much, but in that context where it's black and white and grainy, it doesn't come across as quite as hokey as when you take him out of that context and he's in full color, and you get like the behind the scenes with the cast and crew standing around, and they're just regular ass people, and he's still acting like real fucking hammy. Like, he probably should have dialed it down a little bit in those scenes, because it reminds me almost of like theater stage actors or whatever, like actors in black and white movies were still like taking beats from stage acting, because that's where they came from most likely anyways. So like that lingers on, but it looks cheesy, I think, out of that context. Cheesier anyways. That might have something to do with it.
Well, that's the kind of the conflict I have too, is because when they're in filming it, I get that, and it's not in those points that it bothers me. Yeah, it's then when it's not on the film, and Nosferatu is literally sitting around having conversations with people, and kind of explaining himself. And I think they give too much away. I think he should have always been kind of lurking in the shadows, creeping the fuck out of people. I think once he just becomes another crew member where they're just having me, sitting around, there's that scene where he reaches up and grabs the bat. Like, okay, that scene, that's too much, because the whole idea about this is people are supposed to be wondering and curious and unsure. Dude, there is no fucking way I'm hanging out with somebody and I'm already, suspicious and kind of concerned and worried, and this motherfucker grabs a bat out of the air and drinks its blood. Whether he's a real vampire or not, even if he's a regular human being, that's not okay. Yeah, nobody's going to be fine with that.
I like that scene a lot, actually. You do like find out some about him, but what you find out is that he's like old and decrepit and can't remember shit and can't make new vampires. He can't remember who made him. He's like losing his powers. So like you don't really find out much about him, but I think what you do get is kind of cool. And the two dudes he's talking to, Albin and I forget the other guy's name off the top of my head, but they're like shit-faced, so that might have a little something to do with it. And I like that you get a little bit of information about them as well, because they're talking about like the craziest shit they've ever seen as Nosferatu approaches them. And Albin says he saw a medium like have ectoplasm come out of their mouth at some point or whatever. And I like out of context, that sounds like fucking ridiculous. But when we were doing our actual Nosferatu review, I did a lot of research about Albin Grau, and like he's the producer of the movie, and he actually designed the look of Nosferatu, and he was like way into the occult and like would do crazy shit like that. And I kind of like that you get like a little hint of like what that dude's about. I kind of wish you got more. Earlier in the movie, he's the first one to clock that like Schreck is not an actor, like he's a vampire, and I kind of wish you got more into like that dude's background, because he's a kind of an interesting character. I don't know. I like that scene. It gives some away, but not too much, I don't think.
Yeah, and that works for that character. I do like that aspect too, because from that, now I don't know if they do as good of a job kind of explaining that in the film. You kind of do have to piece it together, but I honestly kind of think they should have leaned more into that, so you already have this director aspect, and as you learn more and more about this director, you understand the motivation of, oh my God, he's willing to sacrifice these people just so he can get the shot, and that within itself is a major driving factor of kind of watching this film of just that's like the main theme, So I feel like it would have even helped to make it stronger if then there's the secondary person, which we kind of do, to be fair, who is also, like you said, interested, finds out later, and then he's actually okay with it too, or working with some kind of ulterior motives or something like that. But like you said, they almost like hinted at it too little for me, to where they didn't really kind of hammer that home. Because to me, it would make it more interesting if you had all these different pieces of a filmmaking process, all, the producer, the director, and then you get this new cameraman in and stuff like that. And then they all kind of like piece it together, and then all have their own kind of motivations and like what it leads to and stuff like that. But it really hammers home more the idea of like, this director's fucking crazy. He's willing to sacrifice everyone just to get the perfect shot. And so they don't really, I think, flesh that out as well.
I agree. I agree with that point. I think to touch on what you asked earlier, like my rewatch, I enjoyed it a little bit less. I think it's because it's a bit surface level. I mean, there's a slight metaphor happening. I think the sort of concept of the movie is super fucking interesting, and I dig the acting and like the vibe, but I don't think it goes quite as deep as I want it to go just in general into these characters. And it's like only a 90-minute movie, which usually I would praise, but I kind of wish they would spend a little more time with these characters talking like they were, the craziest shit they ever saw. Like, I want more scenes like that because I want to get to know who these people are better. Because most of them you really don't know shit about, which is kind of a problem for me. And I feel like if you're trying to do this sort of like, historical drama kind of thing, like there's got to be some information out there about these folks that you can kind of research and dig a little deeper into. I would have got more out of it, I think, on a rewatch if that was the case, but it's a little surface, I think.
Yeah, honestly, the way I'm like thinking about it now, if I was, thinking about how could I make this kind of more stronger, because I'm kind of gonna go against you a little bit and kind of thinking about how to restructure this. I think Nosferatu works best as mysterious as possible. Now, his information about being old and stuff like that, that's not necessarily what bothers me about the film. But now that we're talking about it, I kind of find it more interesting, especially when we're talking about a film about making a film is essentially, what the premise of the movie is. And so I find it more interesting so say you have that scene, but you take Nosferatu out. So it's the two guys drinking and they could be talking about Nosferatu, or like you're getting more character. You're diving deeper into these characters and their aspect, what they contribute to the film and what their mentality is in making the film and why they're willing to go along with this kind of stuff. With Nosferatu lurking, eavesdropping, still in the shadows, kind of being tempted to feed on them or something like that, but still like, not just sitting with them and being like buddy chummy and opening up to them. That aspect to me, when you're just right up in Nosferatu's face, when he's kind of sympathetic and like, oh, I'm alone and I don't have anybody. I don't know. That's not really what I want, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it could go either way, really. I think it's kind of cool because when you watch Nosferatu, he's got a very specific look, and it's not a very common look for a vampire. It's a little like it's iconic for sure. It sticks out in your memory, but like they sort of dive into Nosferatu in a way that they might explain like why he looks the way he looks and like why he moves the way he moves. He's old as shit. He's like on his last leg, which is probably why he agreed to be in this movie. Which is kind of another interesting concept within the movie, is they offer a vampire everlasting life via this film, which is like ironic because vampires are supposed to have everlasting life. It turns out maybe that's not the case. If he's like losing his powers the older he gets, maybe with this specific kind of vampire, that's not the case anyways. So like the everlasting life that like cinema might grant him, and here we are 100 years later still talking about that movie. So like it is factual. Which is kind of a smart way to go about adding to the lore of Nosferatu, I think.
Yeah, and that is very smart. So that aspect of it, of making something that lasts forever and the obsession by the director to do that, makes sense. But see, that's where it doesn't necessarily make sense for Nosferatu, because he's bargaining. He wants the woman. He's not necessarily enthralled with the idea of everlasting life necessarily. He already lives forever as far as he knows. He doesn't know how old he is. So for that to be a motivation for him to be in this film doesn't completely add up to me, Yeah. Like the premise is smart. But
it's a little ambiguous, I guess. And I do the bit that you get about Albin, like he is sort of like hot on the trail of Nosferatu right from the get-go, of him being probably not being like a real actor. And then he does have that sort of interesting conversation, but like it doesn't quite add up because he is suspicious. And then towards the end, it seems like he's pretty chill with like just letting Dracula murder whoever the fuck. And like it makes sense. He drops a few lines at least where he's like very concerned about like the financing of the movie, and like his company might go bankrupt. He might not be able to make another movie, which is true. The Jafra, I think, was the name of his film production company. This is the only movie they ever made. So like you can kind of get his motivation, but like everybody else on the crew like should not be chill. And they're not all chill, by the way, but like you just kind of want a little more, I guess. And I like. They could have like given more from Albin too, like really have him ramp up like his concern about his company or something, like make it more understandable.
I agree. Or like kind of going in that way of, I would almost love to see the kind of light switch go off in him where he realizes that. And then he becomes the kind of facilitator where the director, he's just obsessed with this thing. But then the producer, and kind of in the way that a movie works, becomes kind of the manipulator. Yeah. You know, where people are starting to freak out and raising these concerns and being like not okay with it. But then him kind of maybe gaslighting them or saying, are you serious? Are you a real vampire? You know, and seeing those wheels turn into the idea of like, oh, well, I'm going to manipulate them. Now, see, that makes a very fascinating type of contrast to what the director's doing. Yeah. But I think that would be smarter.
He could even like pick and choose, you know, Dracula was trying to eat, I think, the script girl or whatever. And maybe at a certain point, like Albin could come in and be like, you know, the script's locked. We don't need her anymore. Go ahead and take her. Yeah. Like, behind the director's back and like, appease the star of the movie and let him start murking people. That would add another layer to the metaphor for sure.
I think so too. And I think using these roles, like since you're making a film about making a film, I think you need to lean into these distinct roles more. And I think that would do that. You have a director and he's obsessed with the art and he's willing to do anything. But then you have this producer, he's the money man and he's dealing with the talent. He's doing all these behind the scene things to make things work or to, make it pay off. I don't know. And then you could have, old Princess Bride come in and he could, I like when he's talking about the way he shoots some scenes that we do see in Nosferatu, which we commented on when we covered Nosferatu. And so that's cool, but he needs to have some kind of distinct role too, of maybe he's the cameraman. So he sees things very objectively or something. And, he's almost the one who's seeing the strings being pulled or something. I don't know. It feels like, I don't know. I don't like that they focus so much on Nosferatu. And to be fair, I mean, it's fucking Willem Dafoe and you want to let Willem Dafoe shine. But I think with this, the way they're using it as this kind of narrative tool and this idea of the theme of their movie, he needs to be more in the background. He needs to be having an effect on people, not being such a strong central character himself is kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I will say overall, I think like the makeup they do for Willem Dafoe is really solid. I like the vast majority of his acting choices. And like when he's really cheesing it up, I'm able to roll with it. It is kind of funny. I think it's supposed to be a little funny. There was like one really small character choice that he made that I don't think actually happens in Nosferatu from what I can remember, where he like clicks his nails together. I really like that moment. He does it a couple times.
That was cool.
Dafoe just adding some to the Max Schreck lore there was kind of interesting. I like some of the like throwbacks to the 1920s movies. Like we already mentioned, they do like they cut to black and white. And I think when they do that color to black and white, they do it pretty seamlessly, and it's not jarring. I think it's done quite well. And they use
I agree.
Some interstitial cards too with like words on them, like they do in the original silent movie, but they don't have the dialogue on them. It's like specifically for this movie, and I like the nod to that as well. So there's
I do like a lot of the aesthetic choices. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The ones I like the movie aspect of it too. I like when they roll into the castle and you get a behind the scenes look of how all the lights are set up. That just looked interesting to me. That was aesthetically pleasing to me to see these giant lights on these boxes and they're kind of crisscrossed but then you're creating these shadows and harsh lights and so I don't know. I like a lot of that. And even, that first thing where they're shooting through the window and he's talking to him, I like that too, because it's a silent film.
Yeah.
They're playing some music to kind of set the mood into maybe what's going to be playing in the background of the actual movie. But I like that aspect of back in those days, the director was like feeding
motivation,
the motivation, and the actors react to it in that way of like, oh, and now you see this thing, and the actor, surprise this way, that's fucking cool. I like that. That was really fun. Like I love those scenes where he's feeding it. Yeah,
I think John Malkovich in that role fits really well. He does like a keyed up personality really, really well. He's like super high strung.
He does, yeah.
He's just a great actor. I mean, this whole cast is pretty damn solid, actually. The Eddie Izzard playing Gustav. I didn't realize that was Eddie Izzard the first time I saw this. I had to look at IMDb. I'm not super familiar with his like filmography, but I know he's like a very famous British comedian. We're really just actor too. He just had a movie come out where he's it's a Jekyll and Hyde thing, but I believe he's like a female Jekyll and Hyde, but it's played by Eddie Izzard. I haven't seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it just came out. I don't know about the reviews or anything, but I think he does a great job as Gustav. He does like the old school kind of, I don't know, mannerisms well in a way that's believable and maybe not quite as hammy as some of the choices that Willem Dafoe makes.
Yeah, I didn't realize, like, I didn't put any of those pieces together.
Yeah.
I was just trying to look up like the work, and Mystery Men is on the filmography. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with this actor, so I don't know. I mean, I thought more than the performance, kind of, going into the makeup, that he's wearing and the kind of way it looks. So even that, I like it's so pale and it almost looks like he's got this kind of fake jaw. And I don't know if that's supposed to make the character look like the one that's in Nosferatu, or if that's how the person's supposed to look in this film. I was a little confused about that, but I was interested about the overall look because he's so pale because he has to show up on the screen and stuff like that. So it was an interesting look. Yeah, I thought the performance was solid.
That's how I read it. Like they had him in makeup for the movie. So that's like why he looked like he did. Is how
that's what that's what I figured too. Yeah, but
Udo Kier playing Albin Grau in this one. Udo Kier's another fantastic actor. I think he does a great job in this movie. It's a pretty like top-notch cast overall. Udo Kier's been in fucking everything. He's getting up there in age now. He's probably in his 70s at least, I would think. I was just gonna pull it all up. Yeah, I would say to me, John Malkovich definitely was the standout. I feel like he like the character is consistently what I feel the character's supposed to be. Yeah. And ends with a type of kind of like exclamation point on the end and really kind of sold me, that performance at the end and kind of like keeping rolling. And even then when the vampire's dead and he's like, can somebody pick up this, he's so fucking stone cold, dude. I love that though, because he's the fucking monster. That's the brilliance of it. And I think he sells that. I mean, to be fair, Willem Dafoe does a good job, but like you said, I think sometimes it's done up too much, but I don't think that's his fault. I think he was asked to do that. I think that was like an intention
of the film in some way, and I just don't necessarily agree with it. Not that Willem Dafoe did the bad job. I don't really like the decisions that were made. And then everybody else, like nobody else kind of like blew me away, but it's mostly because I think everybody else did a good job, but I think it's mostly because the film isn't necessarily interested in exploring their characters as much, which is the kind of problem I have. I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem. I wish it did, because these actors can fucking land the plane. You know, they were doing good. Yeah, I wish they had a little more to chew on. Something that I did find interesting in the original movie. The end scene when Nosferatu's feeding on the woman, he does fall asleep on her chest. And they sort of explain that away in this movie because they had drugged her. So, like, the blood that he's drinking has the laudanum or morphine or whatever.
Because he drank
so he passes the fuck out. And that's how they explain it. I thought that was a smart choice. Like, you didn't really have to be in there, but I was like, that's interesting, you know? It's like super dark that they actually drug her, though, because like she sees he doesn't have a reflection. And they
she freaks the fuck out.
Drug her ass so they can finish the movie. That's pretty fucking dark.
It is, yeah. And then that's the point too, where I can't remember exactly how it all plays out. I know, like, you know, Carrie starts freaking out a little bit, but I can't even remember the like necessarily like sequence of how it all plays out, except that everybody else just fucking ends up dying. And then, you know, the director is pulling all the strings and he's set up this trap for Nosferatu, but it's also to finish his movie in the way that he wants. And he opens the stone and the sunlight comes in. But yeah, that is smart. But that's also the thing about this film, which I really appreciate it because I love it. We've talked about Nosferatu and stuff like that. But when I said like a light recommend, people who, I mean, this is for cinema lovers. You know, a lot of the decisions made, you kind of have to know Nosferatu to appreciate it. You know, even just, the cameraman coming in and explaining how he filmed something, like that's just for people who have seen Nosferatu and know like, oh yeah, there is this one scene that acts like that and they're explaining it away. Otherwise it feels like just a kind of filler line. So yeah, I agree with you that that's really smart to make him pass out in that way. But if you're just if somebody's just stumbling across this movie just to watch it, I don't think that that's going to add anything for the casual viewer, you know. I agree with that. That's pretty fair, man. Like if you're not pretty intimately aware of the scenes in Nosferatu, you're gonna appreciate this movie at best half as much as somebody who does. Like it's gonna be kind of lost on you. Which is a detriment. Like it does not really stand on its own. I don't think. Which I mean I appreciate in some ways, but it's also in the same kind of way that, you know, you go to a Marvel film or something or a Star Wars film and they're just kind of concerned about throwing something in the background or like making this kind of obscure reference. And you're like, and people, you can point at the screen and be like, oh, that, but it's not really serving the narrative necessarily. You know, I don't know. I appreciate it and it's cool, but as far as how it works in the film, I don't know, you know? Yeah. Could have gone a little bit deeper. It's a great concept for a movie. You know, overall, I still really enjoy it. But yeah, it's not like, I don't know. There's more meat on that bone. I don't think they really got to the bottom of it necessarily. Maybe a couple more passes on the old script or something. Who knows? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I also like they make mention that they have to build a ship. Like to shoot scenes on because Orlok doesn't go on the water. But then we don't really hardly get any scenes on that ship. It's like one really they didn't really pay off very well. Brief moment. Yeah. I kind of wanted more from that. I don't know. Are there any other major points you want to touch on here before we rate this thing? No, not particularly. No, I don't think so. Okay. So we can go ahead and get into it. We hadn't mentioned previously, but Randy was having some technical difficulties. So he might be sending in I've got it. Yeah.
Oh,
you want me to go ahead and play Randy's?
Okay. Yeah.
portion?
Why don't you kick us off, and we'll hear what Randy thinks about Shadow of the Vampire out of 5.
Okay, here we go.
All right, sorry for the technical difficulties earlier, gentlemen. I'm just going to come in this quick and dirty here. I like this movie quite a good deal. I think that there's a lot of like really subtle acting that goes on in this. I also think there's a lot of range being displayed by Willem Dafoe, and like I think it's kind of a legendary performance for a reason. I think that the movie itself is an interesting premise, and it's like tonally, like its general vibe to me is very strong and very anachronistic and very of its time. I think it does a good job of capturing the era that it's supposed to exist in. It does really cool in-camera effects. I don't know if they're in-camera effects actually, but they have cool camera effects where when something is transitions to the black and white anachronistic style of heavily vignetted film, like you would see in Nosferatu itself. That transition is always really done well, and everything is commanded by our director character. And I think the movie literally begins with "and we begin," him saying that, and then it ends with like the final shot of the film and him saying "we got it." So I don't know. There's a lot of like cool framing things that happen in here. There's a cool style to it. I do think that there are pacing issues with it. I think that largely my problems with this movie center around not really feeling firm in who I am following. I kind of feel like it sets up our actress to be one thing, and then she just disappears for a long period of time, and then she comes back, and that makes it hard to follow her. It makes it hard to follow Carrie Ellis's character, who kind of comes in second half, maybe third act, in a pinch hitter moment, and he's like plays key roles in the ending of this movie. The Albin character is interesting, but I don't think we spend enough time really getting to know who he is exactly. And all of this stuff is just sort of like mixed and jumbled in. There's some weird editing things. Like I remember Eddie Izzard said something along the lines of like they cut to him finding the blood as they're traversing to the castle, and he's like, "Oh, it's blood. Oh, interesting." And then they just cut away. It just seems like there's a lot more to that scene, that they cut out everything that they could, except for the part that they had to establish in advance, or felt like they had to establish. It just seemed really incongruous, and that's just like an example of some of the weird like asides and time jumps that we get. It just kind of jumps to them at the castle already, and like arriving at the castle, and it's not even focused on the same characters. So I don't know. It's a little bit untethered from itself at times, and I feel that makes it a little bit of a slog to get through. I think people see this as kind of a slow movie, and I think that's fairly earned. All that said, I still really enjoy it. It buys a lot of goodwill that it's focused on one of the most stylish and interesting early horror films. One of the best known and best loved ones, with the most interesting visuals, this German expressionist style, all that stuff. It really benefits from being associated with those things quite a lot. There's a romance to those things that rubs off on this movie. And I also really see this as a very, very appropriate movie for Nick Cage of all people to produce, because it really kind of suits. Every time I've ever heard that guy talk, and as himself, that is, he's like the most actor's actor of all time. He just loves acting. He loves thinking about it. He loves talking about it. He's well versed in it. He knows his stuff. And this movie feels like kind of a love letter to the medium and the things that you sacrifice to get it, and what that does to you morally. I think that's all really interesting. You know, I'm interested in the crossover between the highway between art and commerce. I love that, but also like perfection and the impossibility of that, and the drive, all those things. Like, these are all very interesting themes for somebody who works in the arts to tackle. So that also buys a lot of goodwill for me. All that considered, I'm going to give this a 4. I think that it's probably higher than a lot of people would give it, and I think that's perfectly justifiable. But for me, it just hits me in a lot of the right places, even though it has some seriously critiquable moments. So 4 from me. Again, sorry I couldn't be there any longer. The computer did not want me playing any more bumps for you fine gentlemen. The critics were right. We should have stopped the bumps. It was the bumps' fault. See you later.
All right.
Yeah, Randy definitely touched on a couple things that we hadn't. Yeah, I think the majority of the metaphors are still wrapped up in Malkovich's character. I wish, him talking about like Nick Cage being obsessed with like the art of acting and like this the journey to seek perfection and the fallacy therein, like that is all baked into like Malkovich's character specifically. Spread the love a little more, I think, would have been great. But yeah, good points for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy. Glad you were able to join us in some way or another.
Thanks, Randy. Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, so I mostly I really love the premise of this movie. I love it as a film about making a film, but it has its own kind of flair. I do think that the makeup looks good. I think Willem Dafoe does do a good job. I think he was asked to do what he did, and I don't think he did a bad job. I just don't agree with the choices of like the direction. Honestly, like everybody pretty much did a good job except old Carrie, man. He that accent was rough. And especially compared to everybody else doing a really good job. Yeah, I like the visuals. I like the aesthetic of this movie. The middle section, though, especially to kind of what Randy touched on, like who you're focusing on. When the director leaves and he has to go look for another cameraman, and then the new cameraman comes in, and then also the actress comes in at the end. Yeah, it does feel disjointed, and it does kind of feel like scattershot and like, I'm spending some time with these people, but not enough. And we're not diving deep enough into these characters. And I'm kind of like darting back and forth, like, who is this? Who is this? What's going on? What's their motivations? And it becomes a little too much, I think. And I think I think the director should have just been there the whole time. And that's who we're kind of like following, if that's the direction you want to go, or they should have, gone deeper with some of these characters if we're going to kind of split it up a little bit. So, the ending though, they really pay it off. So I really love the beginning, and I really love that final scene. Like you said, they make some really great choices where they drug her and it's like really fucked up, and the consequences really start coming in where, he's going to feed on her and everybody's like kind of got to watch him feed on her. But then somebody tries to stop it. They get fucking killed. It like keeps going. It just like ramps up really well to the point where then it's just the director, and that's what he wanted. He doesn't give a shit. And that's a great way to kind of end the film and say like, yep, that's what we were going for. And that's the point. And I think that comes across really, really well. So they saved it at the end there for me. It's just kind of that middle section where it's like kind of dragging. It is slow. They're giving too much, too up in Willem Dafoe's face. Even like it looks good, but it's the same kind of thing of like when you have a monster and you like put it too much in the light. It's like no matter what, it's like the whole idea is to keep it in the shadows. And so with him talking and just like sitting next to regular people, it just doesn't work 100% for me. Even though it looks good and he's doing a good job, it's just I just feel like that's not the way it's supposed to be. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5, and then a half star for the Yabos, of course. And so that's going to be a 3.5 for Shaboy. Bob.
Oh, hey.
What are you going to give? What is Shadow of the Vampire?
Shadow of the Vampire. I love this concept for a movie, just like the legend, the utterings that Max Schreck was a real vampire, and then taking that literally and running with it, making a movie out of it. I think it's super interesting. I love the recreations of the scenes in the original movie. I think they do them very faithfully. I think they knock that shit out of the park, actually. And they go back and forth between the black and white and the color scenes so seamlessly, and I feel like that would be so easy to fuck up. They do all that shit really, really well. The makeup is dope. The soundtrack is solid. Like I mentioned, that the first scene where we get the full shot of Nosferatu and we hear the heartbeat like really start going nuts. Like I think it's a great moment. His little like nail clicky moment, like I love that shit. He does get like the big eyes, like when he like rears his head back and he gets the crazy eyes. It's like he's chewing the scenery like a motherfucker. When he sets up the chair at the very end of the movie for the actress he's like he's at 11, he's at 13, and it's like maybe I give him some grace because I know it's Willem Dafoe, and like that's just kind of where he thrives, I think, and like that's probably why I roll with it. Like if it was somebody else, maybe it would take me out, but like I just kind of know, oh, that's Willem Dafoe, and he's Willem Dafoeing right now. Like,
sure,
I can roll with it. It doesn't bother me too much. I could see why it would bother somebody though. The overall like metaphor of the perfectionist filmmaker willing to sacrifice quite literally his entire cast and crew comes through well. I wanted more from Albin because he seems like such an interesting real life character. The dude seems crazy interesting. I could watch a movie about that dude, honestly, entirely about him. I wanted some more of that for sure. And it is jarring when Murnau just leaves for a large portion of the movie and comes back. Kind of a strange decision. I'm not sure why that was made. But yeah, I think we've basically touched on everything else. The ending was dope. I want more ship. Didn't get it. I think I give this movie a little more leeway than you, Juice. I'm probably a little closer to Randy here with a 4 out of 5. So that's going to put our aggregate at a 3.8 out of 5.
Whoa. All right. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Not too bad.
Bob, I was going to ask you, do you know the Rotten Tomatoes on this?
I haven't looked at it. Have you?
Okay, so, well, I haven't looked at that one specifically, but what I was setting up, I was listening, by the way, but what I was setting up while you were talking and while Randy was talking is a creature comfort style Rotten Tomatoes. So what we're going to do is we're going to, you got to beat the house, which is Shiboy Soju. And I've picked 3 other films from the stars in this movie, and you're going to compare it to Shadow of the Vampire. So since I know you haven't looked at it, I'm going to look up Shadow of the Vampire now.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and play that bump and we'll get into Rotten Tomatoes.
Let's do it.
Certified fresh to death.
So you're looking up 3 other vampire movies or just 3 horror movies or anything?
No, so here's what I'll do. So we have Shadow of the Vampire, and I will say this has 140 critic reviews.
Okay,
140. So first, I want you to tell me which one is higher on the critic score. Okay. Shadow of the Vampire or Con Air, which also stars John Malkovich.
Critics?
Yeah.
I don't think critics love Con Air. I'm not. No, they can't. I just don't see it happening. I'm going to be fucking surprised, aren't I? I'm going to say Shadow of the Vampire is higher than Con Air.
Okay, Shadow of the Vampire is higher. I'm not going to tell you yet, so we're going to go through all 3. Okay, so round deuce, we are going to do Willem Dafoe. So what do you think is higher from the, let's say, should I do critics or audience? Let's switch it up. Let's say audience score on Shadow of the Vampire or Antichrist.
Audience. Oh man. Man. Antichrist is not a crowd pleaser of a movie. I think I'm gonna say Shadow of the Vampire again.
Okay. Is higher
than Antichrist.
Okay. And let's do one final round. So we couldn't do Saw. I was trying to pick some kind of darker movies, but I can't look at Saw's score because we're going to be doing that one very soon. So I decided to go with Twister for Shaboy Carey. Unrealized ideas. Unrealized. So we are going to go, I'll go back to critics. Which do you think is higher, Shadow of the Vampire or Twister?
Critics, I'll go Twister. Why not?
Think Twister's higher?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to the beginning now. You got to get 2 out of 3 to best me, Bob. So we just started with Con Air. I asked about the critics. You said that you thought Shadow of the Vampire was higher. You were correct. So
Sweet.
Shadow of the Vampire is 81% certified fresh.
Pretty good.
Out of 140, pretty close to us. We're just a little bit lower, but in the same ballpark for sure. And then Con Air was 58%.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
I should have done the audience on that one. So I'll go ahead and mention the audience for Shadow of the Vampire is 74. Still pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
That's closer to our square. Con Air was much higher, 75% on Con Air.
Yeah. Crowd.
Yeah. The second one, I said the audience score on Antichrist. Which one is higher? You were correct again. This one is 55% for Antichrist, 74% for Shadow of the Vampire audience score. And we have covered Antichrist before. I couldn't remember it, but it is rotten. It is 54% on the critics.
It's a tough movie to watch, man.
Yes. And then finally, we did Twister. So I went back to the critics on this one. You said that you thought Twister was higher. This one you did get wrong. So out of 71 reviews, Twister has a 63% on the critics compared to the 81% of Shadow of the Vampire. So Bob, you got 2 out of 3. You got yourself a hell skeet.
Tight. That's kind of fun to switch it up, honestly. That was
that's
different.
creature comfort style right there. Since I'm always just doing it one-on-one, so there you go, switch it up. We can adapt.
Nice. Twister needs a little more love, I think.
We got to cover Twister eventually. Maybe somebody with that you pick is going to swing it a little Twister's way. We'll see.
Yeah, pick Twister. That'd be a fun ass movie. Cool.
Yep.
Well, I beat the house. Tight.
Yep. You got it, Bob.
We got some trivia. Let's go ahead and jump into some trivia real quick.
All right.
It's totally time for trivia.
So the line that Murnau says in this movie, "If it isn't in the frame, it doesn't exist," is apparently a phrase, as a piece of advice that the real Murnau gave to the young Alfred Hitchcock when he visited the studios in Berlin, I guess, that he was working at. And it's something,
that's cool.
Something that Hitchcock would refer to throughout his career.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Damn. Some heavy hitters talking. What else we got? The locomotive that conveys the film crew to Czechoslovakia is named Charon, Charon. And in Greek mythology, that was the ferryman who conveyed souls across the river Styx. I did not know that at all.
Okay.
What else we got? Max Schreck. Yeah, he recites Tennyson's poem Tithonus at one point. The woods decay and fall. The vapors weep. They're burthened to the ground. This is apropos because the poem is about a character from Greek mythology who was immortal, even though he continued to age, just like Schreck. Yeah, that's an interesting part of this vampire mythology is I guess he lives forever, but he is going to be an old ass decrepit vampire living forever, which sucks.
Well, he doesn't, that's the thing, he doesn't even really know, and he's like, can you create more, or he doesn't really know. That was an interesting aspect. He's just like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, can't remember. Been around so long, I can't fucking remember who I am. That's terrifying.
That works pretty good. Yeah.
Udo Kier, who played Alban Grau in this movie, he also played Count Dracula himself in Blood for Dracula 1974. He also played vampire elder Dragonetti in Blade 1998.
There you go.
Dude's everywhere. Udo Kier is in fucking everything. He's kind of a chameleon, though. You don't always he's not the easiest dude to pick out for me, anyways. But he's in all kinds of shit.
Udo, so wait, who was he in this film?
Albin, the producer.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah.
The real life Max Schreck was apparently 6'3", and Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe's only 5'9"? That doesn't seem correct to me. He seems like a tall dude.
Yeah, he does seem kind of taller. I guess he's just packing it all in his wiener. It's all going to the wiener.
Yeah, if the extra 5 inches, that Max Schreck had in height, Dafoe's got on his dick.
Whoa.
Got that hang low, allegedly.
Extra.
Allegedly,
Yeah.
It's so large you can't look at it. You'll lose your mind.
It's distracting. That's nuts.
I can't comprehend how gigantic
Your wiener is too big for me to shoot. I'm going to make it smaller.
You're going to cram it into this little tube and wear this prosthetic, apparently. I don't know how that works, dude.
That's wild.
You're going to tuck that dick and you're going to like it.
Damn.
This was originally titled Burned to Light, which is a reference to the filmmaking process and the vampire's fate, obviously. The title change came about because apparently some people, including Willem Dafoe, misread the title as Burn Ed to Light. And he said, who the fuck is Ed? So there. Yep. Final bit I have here. This movie was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Makeup, and it lost out to How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, no.
Rough.
Oh, no.
I do not like that movie.
I mean, I have nostalgic kind of like, I'll throw it on Christmas and then I'll always be like, yeah, okay, this isn't so good. But
yeah,
I can tolerate it for Christmas season, but no, no,
dude, it's Alice also has some of those nostalgia goggles for it, and we watched it last year, I think. Dude, I could barely get through it. It was rough.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. There's some pretty cringe stuff going on in that film too.
Yeah, just watch the cartoon. It's much better.
Yep, it is much better.
So yeah, that's all. That's all the trivia I've got. Time for Cooter of the Week.
Cooter of the Week. I'm gonna take a leak real quick.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the Week.
Oh, what up? My name's Justin, and we're doing Cooter of the Week. Cooter is a character type, and it's a straight chillin' motherfucking exclusive, you heard? We want the best Cooter or whatever, and Cooter's got to hit 3 out of the 5 points. The 5 points are you're smug as fuck, and the other 4 points are like the attire or whatever. And then, like, sexual deviance. We don't like that shit. You got your manipulation, and that's not fucking chill. And then the last point is, like, you're pretty fucking pathetic, brah. And, like...
Drinking too much coffee.
Those are the 5 points of Cooter Dom.
Oh, you already...
Let's see who we got.
All right. Let's get into it.
So those are the 5 points of Cooterdom. Juice, do you have anybody you'd like to nominate?
Oh, okay. Well, let's kick it off with, let's go director. I think that's the one that probably stands out to me. That's not just the obvious choice of going Nosferatu. So
yeah. Manipulation for sure.
Yeah. Manipulation, sexual deviance. Like the drugging. He
does promise Nosferatu a woman. So I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's an equivalent of a rape in a way because this woman is like laid out.
Yeah.
To be fed upon in a way, kind of given up to.
She's been drugged. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll roll that into.
Got some rape vibes deviance. For sure. Yeah.
I think that's definitely close enough. It's pretty fucked up
because he's not like, and it's specifically because she's a woman, which is why,
yeah,
if he was just offering anybody up to feel, you don't drug anybody anyways, but I mean, it's got the sexual, she's played up as the kind of sex pot too, her yabos are out at one point and she's beautiful and everyone kind of like lusts after her. So that's why it kind of gets that vibe, that rapey vibe.
Yeah. So that's 2. Smug. I think he's smug as fuck.
Oh yeah. Even Yeah, that's God. I keep thinking about that last shot. It's so good, but yeah, like we got it. He just does not give a shit that there's like dead people all in front of him. He just doesn't fucking care.
He doesn't give a shit. That last line really like made me think of the last line of Inglourious Bastards when he goes, "I think this is my masterpiece."
Yeah,
it just reminded me of that.
Very similar vibe for sure.
Pathetic. Is he pathetic?
He's pretty capable. Oh, doesn't he get like drugged up or something at one point?
Yeah,
I get that middle section kind of confused. It all kind of blurs together to me, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. For the most part, I mean, everything kind of goes his way. He's creating this kind of master plan that all kind of honestly falls into place for his benefit. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Everything but the attire.
Yeah. So no, I think he's definitely Cooter. We could go Nosferatu as well, or is there anybody else that sticks on your mind before we get to Nosferatu?
Not particularly. Those would be the two obvious choices, and then to some extent, like Albin is
the producer.
He goes along with it, but I don't know that he's really. I don't know that we get enough from him. But yeah, I think Nosferatu. Manipulation.
Yeah,
for sure. Smug arrogance.
It's kind of hard though, because here's the thing. His nature is to feed on people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that would be saying like anyone who eats a hamburger is a Cooter. You know, so
I mean, we do manipulate some cows, man.
Yeah, I mean, we do manipulate the system, but I'm just saying, like, he's supposed to feed on blood.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's not the suave type of Dracula he does have some kind of mesmerism. So okay, manipulation. Yeah.
And
okay.
He also could, it seems as though he also could feed on the blood of any animal he wanted. Like he feeds on a bat.
That's true, because he eats the bat. That's fair. That's
like
fair.
A ferret or something earlier on.
That's fair. So, that is fair. Yeah. And he, I mean, his little, like you pointed out when he does the kind of chair thing, like him trying to be fucking smooth, and he is thirsty.
Yeah, it's a thirsty Drac for sure.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. So kind of pathetic in that way.
He is kind of pathetic. He's like losing all of his powers and explaining like he can't remember his life. He's kind of like your grandpa, like can't remember shit.
Yeah,
he's kind of
which
frail.
Is sad, except that he's like feeding on people and kind of raping women.
He's like a grandpa that's still trying to hit on your girlfriend or something, you know?
Dude, he's fucking Bill Cosby head ass.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I think Nosferatu hits Cooterdom as
I think
well.
So. I think it's
lock them both up.
A gruesome twosome. Yeah, we got them both.
Yeah,
Murnau and Max Schreck locked the fuck up.
Cool. Bob, I hope you did the Cooter intro justice. You know, I'll have to play back the tape.
We'll just have to see. I think I did it the best it's ever been done. Personally.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just go ahead and sign off then. You got this.
Thanks for your blind
one-man show.
Go ahead and sign off. I'll do all three of our voices. All right, bud.
You're just the one-man show here.
It's your boy Randy. I'm back. That's exactly
it's your boy
what Randy sounds like. I'm back. It's Randy.
Oh my lord.
We're running a touch long, so let's skip over what we've been watching and jump over into our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you guys are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. And we do have one voicemail this week. We're going to hear from the librarian. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hi. So I decided a great way to finally get off TikTok and go to sleep would be to first send you Girly Pops a voicemail. So the prompt was weird food, and in one night I ate crocodile and kangaroo. I went to Australia once, and they let us sample crocodile and kangaroo. The crocodile tasted like chicken, and the kangaroo tasted like Swedish meatballs. And when y'all post this episode on Wednesday, I will be attending a double feature of Saw 1 and Deuce with my bestie Jeremiah, because for some reason Saw X takes place after those two, which technically makes it Saw 2.5, which technically makes it stupider. Semi-related, I recently realized the 9th movie in a franchise is always the worst. Here is my evidence. Exhibit A, Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell. Exhibit B, Texas Chainsaw 2022. My final piece of evidence, Spiral from the quote-unquote Book of Saw, which made me okay with Chris Rock getting his shit rocked on live TV. Just a cute little discussion Jeremiah and I had driving home from Halloween decor shopping. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye!
That's an interesting theory.
I don't think I agree with that overall.
Well, I know you're pretty soft on Jason Goes to Hell. I'm
hard on it, to be honest.
I don't agree with that opinion, but I know that that's not your least favorite Friday the 13th movie. So
no, and I don't love the Texas Chainsaw 2022, but I don't think that's anywhere near the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
That's fair. That's actually kind of toward the top
franchise. Yeah, that's a rough franchise.
Ooh, that poor I was just looking up some other ones. Hellraiser 9, which Hellraisers aren't very good, but that one's called Revelations from 2011. Which one is Nightmare 9?
There is not one. There's not.
How many do they have?
8. There's 7 in the original run, and then the remake is the 8th.
Gotcha. Okay.
The 9th Halloween movie is Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is trash.
It's not the worst. It's trash, but it's not the worst.
It's not. It's pretty close though. Like,
I know you. Yeah, we differ on this one, but I would put Halloween it more.
Ends.
Wow. I would put it more like I think it's got an edge over at least like 2 or 3 Halloweens.
I could see that. Yeah, that's fair to say. I think.
We did actually. Speaking of, we'll go back. I'll post this on the socials. We did a ranking of a tier list of all the Halloweens a couple years ago, and I need to go back and revisit that
on the YouTubes.
Yeah, I'll post it for Halloween season. That's interesting. Interesting thought, though.
I don't think Spiral. So most of the Saw movies are hazy in my memory, to be fair, but I don't think Spiral's the worst. It's been a long time since I've seen most of them, though, like a decade or more.
I think since we did a binge in college where we watched all of them, and then we kind of kept up with some of them. I remember 3D being pretty bad. If I had to just off the top of the dome pick one that was worse, I'd probably say 3D. But
that's one that I can remember.
Hard to remember,
but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not good. That's a dodgy franchise, though. Kind of similar to Texas Chainsaw. It's not a lot of gems, For
the most part, for me, there's not a lot of gems, but I think Saw's pretty steady in a mediocre kind of way. But also too, it's hard because there's not a lot of franchises that have 9. Some get close.
Yeah.
But
I think my favorite 9th in a franchise would be Jason Goes to Hell on it. But I understand why people hate that movie. It's not hard to understand. But
I guess, are there 9 Child's Play?
No.
I don't think
they're
so.
Up to
7?
6, and then they went to the TV show, I think.
Okay. Yeah. There's not a lot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that have 9.
There's a million Amityville movies, but that doesn't count.
Well, yeah. Literally anybody. Anybody can make
anybody. It doesn't matter. It's a fair game.
We probably made one and forgot about it.
Yeah. Amityville, death of a podcast. Hey, let's break into the Amityville house and do a podcast, and we won't die. It'll be fine.
Bob,
boom.
Don't give away our screenplay.
Trademarked. Don't steal it, jerks. Yeah, solid prompt. Thanks for calling in there, librarian. I don't agree, but I love the concept. Colin, if anybody else has like a certain number in a franchise they think is the worst or the best, other than like the original, obviously, call in. Let us know.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. What about threes? Threes are usually, well, I just thought about like Scream 3, and then I thought about like Army of Darkness is probably one of my least favorite. I know that's some people love that one, but Scream 3 is pretty weak. Army of Darkness is pretty weak.
Friday
some people
3
really
is
don't
not
like
great.
Halloween 3.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. It's definitely not the worst, but threes have a tough time. I'm having a hard time thinking of a good 3, because Friday the 13th 3 I'm not crazy about. It's not the worst, but threes don't have a good
Halloween
track
3 is
record.
probably my favorite that I can think of right now, anyways. But it's like a standalone thing too, so it's like kind of a cheat.
Yeah.
It's almost not fair.
Which, if you were going to go that way, then I love Halloween 4, which would be the third of that
technically
series, which is awesome. So I guess that would break. But that's kind of weird territory, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Texas Chainsaw 3, not great. Leatherface,
Not good. Not good. I don't know. Threes aren't.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is fucking fantastic.
It is. Yeah, that's like maybe one of the best.
People were probably screaming for the past 2 minutes, like, "Fucking Nightmare
Friday.
3, asshole!"
Or yeah, Nightmare. Yeah. Friday is pretty weak. Child's Play 3. I don't know. Never seen it.
It's like
Saw 3.
Okay, so I don't.
I remember Saw 3 being pretty decent. There's like a shotgun collar.
Okay, I remember that kill
Shotgun
at least.
collar. Yeah. Well, maybe they survive, Bob. You don't know. Maybe they get out of it.
I don't know. You're correct. I have no fucking. I do not know. Call in. Yeah, 904-638-3231.
What do you think? Yeah. What do you think is the worst number for a franchise?
Yeah.
Consistently.
Let us know. That's gonna do it for us this week at Straight Chilling. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show. We're gonna be kicking off with a brand new Patreon pick. We're gonna be talking about the Librarians pick, actually.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't use it as a reference for our game today.
And that pick is the original Saw. We're doing it.
The OG classic. We're getting an extra classic in this year. Yeah, I can't believe we haven't covered fucking Saw.
Squeezing it in. It's been
nice. It's
9 years coming.
It's been a while since I've like revisited that. You know, that's the one that always kind of lives in your mind of like, yeah, Saw. I don't need to like rewatch that one. But so it'll be interesting to kind of go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I mean, revisit Saw. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, you can find us on all the social medias. Just search Straight Chilling Podcast. If you want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up in one of the social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Talk about the movie of the week, TV shows, video games, trade pictures of our cute animals, and recipes and all the good shit, all the wholesome, fun time shit. And getting into spooky season, everybody's talking about like pumpkin pancakes and Halloween decorations, and it's a good time to join.
We got it all. Everybody's talking about the double features they're going to see in the theaters and everything.
We got it all.
We got it all.
So thanks for stopping by, and until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Gather round, all you ghastly ghouls, and kick off this Halloween season with scary good music and even scarier movies. Monster House Records is a brand new vinyl record retailer specializing in punk rock music and horror movie memorabilia. Located in the heart of Sanford, Florida, they boast a wide array of physical media, including vinyl records, cassette tapes, CDs, VHS, Laserdisc, and more. You can also find vintage tees, books, and plenty of toys. Come for the music, stay for the chills and thrills at the Monster House Records. Be sure to follow them at Monster House ORL or visit them on their website at monsterhouserecords.com.